Hello, it's Roger Bisbee here from Skill Builder, and I've got to tell you, it's absolutely perishing out here. We've got a north wind blowing down, icy, straight from the Arctic. It's minus God knows what, and luckily I've got this Snickers really nice padded insulated jacket on, so hopefully I shouldn't die of exposure. But let's get on with it. What we're looking at here is the Makita DLS110Z brushless motor, 36 volt lithium ion cordless compound mitre saw. Now, cordless compound mitre saws, what do I think of those? Generally, I'd say they're a little bit underpowered. You're pushing your luck in terms of cordless technology with a mitre saw, but they get away with it to a certain extent because they use a thin curved blade which takes out less material. But let's not prejudge it. Let's have a look and see whether this lives up to my expectations. Now, I've got to tell you that Makita did not send a stand with this, which I feel is a little bit short-sighted because it means I've got to operate it off this hop-up. But normally, obviously, you can get a stand, and I know they've got a really good stand now, so a bit of a shame we can't see it. But anyway, as you can probably see, there's a little bit of assembly work for me to do before we can run this baby up. Okay, so it's got all the usual presets here, and in order to click those in, you just flick this lever on the side and then it will fall into the presets as you go round. And if I flick it up again, you can see it hits the presets. It's got the 31.6 as well for doing the crown mouldings, 45 obviously, and it goes around to, and that's past 60 degrees, which is pretty good actually. On here we've got a handle for adjusting us so we can go down on the bevel mitres, and we can go down both sides on that bevel mitre. So that's 45, and if we want to undercut that, we can just flick down here and go to 48. And as you bring it back up, you can see that it engages. So next time it'll only go down to 45. But if you want to just slightly undercut on your 90-degree angles, then that's the way to do it. While we're down here, this is the lock pin for bringing the blade down. If we want the depth adjustment, we pull the lever out there, which basically blocks off the hole, and that gives us the depth stop for trenching. But if we don't want that depth adjustment, we just push that back in, and it means our depth stop is going straight through the hole that's in the top there. So now we need to put the blade on. This is the blade that Makita have sent with it, which is obviously a wood blade, and it's got 40 tooth blades, so not too bad, and a 2.5mm thickness on it. So to get it on, we need an Allen key, which is housed in here. So pull that out the way, and that gives us access to the second Allen key. That is a left-handed thread there, so you need to bear that in mind when you're doing this. It's normally righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, but in this case, it's the other way round. Lefty-tighty, righty-loosey. So we've got two 5 amp hour, 18 volt batteries, and they're wired up to give us 36 volts. I don't think there's an option for that. A little bit of dust extraction on there. Always like a bit of dust extraction. Now, there's really no point in having a lovely machine like this with two 18 volt batteries if you've only got a single charger. So this dual charger from Makita will give you a rapid charge on both batteries there, and obviously it helps if you can have 4 batteries, so you've got 2 on the go and 2 charging. Really depends how much work you want to do with this machine. Now this handle is not fantastic if you're left-handed. If you're left-handed, that thumb button there to unlock the arm is not going to be great for you, which is a bit of a shame, really. All I would have had to do is flip that handle, be able to turn it up into a 90 degrees, into a vertical position, and maybe a left-handed person could use it. I don't know. That's an acknowledgement that I think they ought to think about left-handed people a lot more. That's the batteries run out. Okay, good people, we've had this saw out on site now for a couple of weeks. Actually, I've got a good opportunity to use it because the snowy weather came, so I've been working indoors, cutting all kinds of bits of timber, noggins and stud walling and all that kind of thing, getting on indoors when I really wanted to get on outdoors. But never mind, gave me a chance to use the saw, so that's great. So, my reservations about battery-powered Mitre saws, they haven't totally disappeared. Although I would say that this has taken me by surprise. It's absolutely beautiful. The way it cut was beautiful, and I couldn't really fault it on that level. What I would say is that some of that is due to the fact that it's got a brand new blade in it. So I've got to say, I said that these saws depend upon thin kerf, but this isn't a thin kerf blade, because what I was forgetting is that although you can use a thin kerf blade on a circular saw when you're running along sheet material, that kind of thing, if you're talking about a Mitre saw and you want that accuracy, you must use a thicker blade. And so the blade that they supply with this is more like the blade you'd find on a mains power machine. In fact, it may even be the same one. I don't know, I'll have to check that out. It's a more than capable machine. Now, in terms of runtime on the brand new blade, I can't say to you that I got, 40 cuts out of the charge or anything like that. And the reason I can't say that is because some of the wood was dry, some of the wood was wet, some of the wood was 6x2, some of it was 2x4, some of it was even 7x2. So I was doing all kinds of things. So after a while, I'm going to show you what I actually managed to cut on one charge in a minute. You can just have a little skim around here. Well, in fact, I can show you now, because while I'm talking, you can be looking. So that is what I managed to cut with this on one charge. So what I did notice is as the temperature dropped, we got to about -5, and I was working indoors. These batteries obviously didn't give out as much when they got cold as they were in the warmer climate. So I would say that's a consideration. If you're working outdoors and it's cold and you regularly work outdoors in the cold weather, maybe live in northern Norway or somewhere like that, Canada, get viewers from Canada all the time, then the battery power saw is probably not a great option for you going to the mains power. Personally, I still prefer a mains power saw all day long because of that convenience. But if you've got a need for the battery, then by all means go for it. And this isn't really a compromise. Apart from that runtime, if you've got a good blade in it, it will handle most of what you want to do with it, and it's a very, very nicely engineered saw. I love the fact that they've managed to get this rail on the side here within the machine so that you can use it in tighter spaces. You're not hitting the wall if you're up against the wall there. The thing that I'm really pleased about with this saw is that I had one of these, previous incarnation, mains powered if you like. Lovely saw, but the one thing that it did suffer from, my fault obviously, is that on the underside of the table here, it had a mechanism that went through from the front, from the lock here, actually through unprotected on the underside of the table. And if you put that in the van, if you just chucked it in on top of the tools, as I must admit I'm inclined to do sometimes when you're trying to get home, if you do that, what was happening is it was smashing that mechanism, and it wasn't a cheap repair, I've got to say. And I did actually go into a repair centre once where the guy had a whole line of these Makita Mitre saws lined up there, and they'd all suffered from exactly the same problem, that people had just damaged the underside. So I'm very pleased to see that they've got rid of that mechanism. They've housed it inside a housing there, and they've even got rid of the mechanism off the back here that you use to tighten the bevel if you were going one way or another. And they've put that up here now, so you've got a lock up here. That's obviously locking into its preset there, but you can see there that you've got a nice little lock that will give you the ability to move. Now when you do that, you press the button down there to unlock it. Very nice, cuts beautifully. That new blade, absolute dream. If you're doing second fix work, that kind of thing, skirtings, architraves, all that kind of stuff, then it's the cut is superb. There's no breakout. Now, again, that's one of the things that battery saws may suffer from sometimes, because if you can't get that speed in the blade, it tends to make the cut a little bit ragged. But with these two batteries giving you a 36 volt machine, the actual speed of it is pretty good, you know, so on full speed. And what it's got on it, it's got a couple of indicator lights that show you if the saw is struggling. If it actually starts to bind inside the cut, then the red light comes on and you know that you're overdoing it slightly. So press the button here and we can see the state of the batteries as well, which is a great thing. All in all, as I say, it's got every feature that every other double bevel Mitre saw's got. You know, it's got your depth stop for trenching and all the other stuff. The only thing that's not to like is the fact that you've got to pay a premium for those batteries. If you're a Makita person, then this saw is going to do you very well indeed. I'm saying if you're a Makita person, because if you're running these batteries, if you're already running this battery platform and you've got 4 of these batteries, you can keep yourself going while they're on charge. The charger that you buy separately for is a very nice twin gang charger. I think that's well worth having if you're running this saw. So I'm Roger Bisbee. I think I've talked enough now. Definitely talked enough now. Come back and see us soon. Don't forget, if you just press that little bell at the top there, then you'll get a notification of all the new skill builder videos coming up. They won't all be for you, but you know, pick and choose, see the ones you want to see and ignore the ones you don't.